Welcome back, guys, to part 3. You know what this video is about, so let's just get started. In part 3, I really want to focus on convenience, the ease of use of Android, and the small little things that count. Let's get started. Something that I really like about Android is the pull-down notification system. Now, let's talk about the notification system a little later. Let's start with these shortcuts, or as I like to call them, on and off switches. For example, I'm able to turn Bluetooth on and off, GPS on and off, without really having to dive into the operating system like I do with iOS. Okay? So, now I know you look at this and you're saying, well, that's not part of Android, that is part of TouchWiz. And you know what? I agree. However, there is an app called Widgetsoid, and obviously this phone does not come with those type of switches, but you're able to customize any switch you want. So for example, as you can see, I have tethering off. I can also turn on or off my screen rotation. So let me just show you that. Right now it's on. That means that the screen will rotate. If I wanted to turn it off, all I have to do is that, and the screen will no longer rotate. Again, I can put whatever I want up there. It doesn't really matter. I have this little flashlight. Again, convenience. So if I ever need a flashlight, really just quickly, boom, right there. Screen brightness, GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. These are things that I like to turn on and off a lot. With iOS, let me turn that off. With iOS, I don't have those type of buttons on and off. There was a couple of people that created some shortcuts. Let me just show you that right now. Unfortunately for this demo, since I am running iOS 5.1, I'm not able to show you. And they were really nice. They were shortcuts. They weren't really on and off switches. So let me show you how that worked. I had to show you this because that's as good as it's going to get. So imagine you downloaded these shortcuts. And for example, if I clicked on Wi-Fi, it would just be a shortcut. It wouldn't really turn it on or off. What it would do is, rather than, again, having to dive into the settings and going into Wi-Fi, basically it would, when you click that button, it would take you to this Wi-Fi network settings. Same thing with Bluetooth, you know. Let me go back here. If I clicked on the Bluetooth, what it would do on this shortcut is take me to the Bluetooth settings of right here, which was nice and convenient. I don't have to take it away. But again, with Apple being the way they are in their system, you know, in iOS 5.1 they disabled these type of shortcuts. These are the things that bother me about Apple is, you know, now I have to go and jailbreak my phone to have these, what I believe, simple functionalities, but not so with Android. Android is just a download away. All you have to do is download Widgetsoid and you have that type of customization. Let's talk about the notification system. If you paid attention, I got a notification a few seconds ago. If not, rewind the video. This has to be one of the things I hate about iOS. I know they introduced a notification system, and I have to admit they did a very poor job. If you notice, I had somebody send me a Facebook message to do this part of the video. The notification was shown and then it disappeared. Now, this was one of the things I hated about when I was using the iPhone 4. Okay? I would look at my phone and okay, nothing. No phone, no text messages, no Facebook messages or whatever. The reason why is because they disappear. Not so with Android. Let's take a look here. You're probably looking at this, but you don't know that there's actually a message waiting for me. I wouldn't know unless I use the pull down. There it is. Okay? There's the message. So how am I supposed to know that there's a message? Okay? With Android, it doesn't do that. It lets me know when there's a Facebook message, as you can see from the icon up there. It lets me know when there's a text message, and it adds another icon, a little small, unobtrusive icon. It also lets me know when I have email, and it lets me, so just by looking at my phone, I can say, hey, I have a Facebook message, and I could just use a pull down notification, and then either clear it. Sorry, I'm used to my swiping. Or I can just, I'll read it later. I'm a little busy right now, and I still know that there's that Facebook notification. With iOS, again, it's a really poor job of trying to mimic the Android system, but I think they failed miserably on it. A lot of times, like I said, I was looking at my phone and I didn't know if I had any messages. You know, a few hours later, I would pull down, and it would just, I almost didn't even use this. When I had the iPhone for those 30 days, I never really even used the pull down menu anymore because to me it was worthless. So anyhow, once again, the convenience of knowing that it actually works. So once again, in part 3, we're really focusing on convenience. Let me show you something that, again, I really love about Android. Let's say, and remember we're running the old phone here, Android 2.2 Froyo. So nobody can say that, oh, fragmentation, which we'll talk about later. If I click on contacts, okay, and I've kind of rehearsed this a little bit to make sure I don't give any contact information. I created a fake profile called Andy, okay? Now, the nice thing about Android is that it's very social friendly and it integrates with applications like Facebook, Twitter, and the nice thing about it is, for example, here I have Andy, which again is a fake contact. Doesn't really exist, so it's going to be a little difficult to demo this, sort of. Now, I can click on history to show, you know, our previous conversations and activities. Here, activities shows what they are doing on Facebook and, you know, their social networks. And then media shows all of, like, for example, the pictures that they've uploaded in these social networks. So when I click on Andy, I can see what Andy is doing on Facebook. I can see the pictures that he's uploading. I can see everything about Andy without having to leave my contacts. I can see what he's doing. If I just click on activities, I see, oh, look, Andy's out going out to dinner without having me to load up Facebook. So again, really, the way this works is it consolidates everything into my contact Andy. That's very convenient. Let me show you now again, I had to do this with 2 phones so I don't give any contact information here. Here is, for example, my brother-in-law. This shows activities and updates. Now, if I go over here, I can't go scroll too much because it shows his contact information. So I'll just do this much. But again, I just swipe to the left and I can see all of the updates and what he's doing. Again, I don't want to show too much of that. With iOS, it really doesn't work that way. Now, I know the iPad version is a little bit different on the contacts, but it basically doesn't give you that much information. So for example, if I go to, I know I have a fake contact here too. Options is fake, okay? Actually, I had it on there. All you can really do is just add more information, for example, their address, their phone number, but it doesn't really have any social integration. Even on the pictures, so for example here on my brother-in-law, it's taking his Facebook picture that he has and automatically updating it, which is quite nice. With here I have to manually do all that and it's just a pain. So it's really one of those things that it just shows how Android really shines when it comes to integrating with applications. So since we're talking about convenience, let's talk about email convenience. Let's talk about attachments. When you get attachments, whether it's a picture, an MP3 file, an XML file, a zip file, it doesn't matter what type of file you get. Let's talk about just attachments and the convenience of how Android and iOS manage that. So let's take, for example, here, I got a picture that I received of Andy. Now, on Android, I can download this picture or I can preview it. When I preview it, it'll just make it bigger. With iOS, I can pretty much just do about the same thing. If I hold it down, I can save image and copy, which is great. But here's where it starts to really get kind of funky. If I start getting other types of attachments, let's say, for example, an MP3 file, okay? I can download this MP3 file. See, Android has a file management system similar to what regular PCs and Macs have. Let me show you what I mean by that. So for example, let me load up my file management system. If I click on my files, let me go to the home directory of the SD card, I'm able to see all of what's inside of my SD card, everything inside, okay? And if I download something, so for example, I have my download folder here, it's empty, I can download, I can see everything, I can manage everything. iOS doesn't have a file management system like Android, so in theory, you can't really save files. Yeah, you can save the image of Andy over here, but it doesn't really have a file management system like Android. Now you're thinking, well, who cares? Well, let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go back home. Let's go back to that email, and let's download this THX Sony MP3. It's just one of those, when you watch a movie, that trailer. Anyway, it's an MP3 file. There it is. I downloaded it. It's playing. Now, if I wanted to take this on the road with me, listen to music, I have that ability without needing internet connection. Or let's say I'm running late to a meeting and somebody needed to send me some files that I needed to have to give to somebody, I have that convenience, okay? Let me go to my applications, let me show you my files, let me click on download, there it is, THX Sony Digital MP3. I can even send this to somebody right now via MMS. I can share this, I can upload it to my Dropbox, I can re-email this to somebody else. Again, this is the convenience. Not so with iOS. Let's go over here. Here's that THX Sony Digital, same thing. If I hold down, I can only open, quick look, open in iZip. I mean, it's kind of even stupid to think that this is a zip file. Android would never do that. Android is smart enough to know what a zip file is, okay? So let's open this iZip Dropbox. I mean, again, I don't understand why it's even giving me these options when it's not going to do anything. Okay, so let's say I click on it, I'm able to listen to it, which is great. But what if I wanted to carry this with me, and let's say somebody downloaded me their latest MP3 hit, or for whatever reason, it doesn't even have to be an MP3, it can be any file that I needed to review on a plane or something. I would need internet access to keep listening to this. It doesn't save it on my device. Not so with Android. Android has, again, a management system where I can save files, open up zip. I know that you can open up certain zip files you can open up zip files on iOS, but you can't open up every type of file. With Android, I can tell you right now that probably 99% of any file out there, there's an app for it, and you can open it with Android. So let's talk about application apps. Once again, convenience. Android has the ability to sideload apps. What does that mean? It means that I can install applications not from the Google Marketplace, or as they call it now, the Google Play Store. There's also Amazon. Amazon has their own app store, and there's also other places that have applications where you can download. With iOS, all you have is the App Store from Apple. That's it. Unless, of course, you jailbreak your phone. But remember, we're talking about non-jailbroken devices here. So, with that being said, I'm able to sideload application, and it's really easy. All you have to do is, just to show people how easy it is on Android, just go to Settings, go to Applications, and make sure that that's check marked, the unknown sources. Okay? Now, for example, even if somebody sends me an email, let's load up the email, and says, hey, check out Cut the Rope. No problem. I can click on Install right from my email and click on Install. There it is. I'm installing Cut the Rope. Somebody sent me Cut the Rope, APK file, and I'm able to install it. That is the beauty of Android. That is really, really cool. You can't do that with iOS. Now I have Cut the Rope for free. Look at that. How awesome is that? Let's go ahead and play it. Okay. All right. Never mind. Let's not really play it. But anyway, with iOS, sorry, let's kill this. With iOS, all you have is the App Store. This is it. Now, it's not bad, but this is it. Once again, Android, any application, sideload, doesn't matter, you can install it. Whether a friend develops an app and wants you to test it out, just like you saw in an email, somebody can email, and without having to go through so many, fire or whatever, jump through fire, hoops, I can just easily install it. So, +1 for Android for being able to do that and not being stuck with whatever Apple decides to release. Let's face it, I laughed the other day because I read that Apple decided to, I forgot what movie, but anyway, there was a movie that is coming out soon, and they decided to ban the app because it had a lot of curse words. Like, who cares? Why does Apple need to go through all that and cut developers or let applications not go through the marketplace or through their app store? So with Android, there's no limitation. If somebody wants to create any type of application, it doesn't really matter. You can install it on your phone without having to root it or jailbreak it. Let's talk a little bit about privacy. Let's talk about applications. One thing that iOS users have to worry about is when downloading an application, even from the App Store. You know, Apple's getting scrutinized with a lot of things that are happening recently. For example, let's just check out the news. You know, Apple Insider. Security issues in Facebook, Dropbox, iOS apps requires physical access, okay? Basically what this is saying that there's flaws in these applications where if somebody were to get a hold of your iPhone, and it has been proven that it does not need to be jailbroken, they can get access to all of your information. But that's not all. There's other stuff. For example, and by the way, I don't want to go through this. You can just Google that and read all about it for yourself. But this is a big issue right now. Also, another big issue is that, and I'm glad that Apple's actually doing something about it, that they're phasing out the UDID, which is basically developers were able to add these things to their applications where they can track like your behavior and what you're doing. See, with Android, you don't really have to worry about that because anytime you download an app, when you click on install, it'll tell you what this application wants to do, whether it wants to steal your contacts. I mean, it's clearly telling you right here. Now, again, a lot of people may not read it, and that's your fault. If you get a virus, that's why I laugh when people say, oh yeah, Android, you get viruses. Well, then you should have read it, you know, or they steal your contacts or whatever. You know, Best Buy was at one point getting scrutinized because they wanted to see all of your contacts and stuff like that. And, you know, people were complaining about why should Best Buy need to see all of your contact information. So again, it doesn't happen with Android. Any app that I need to install or want to install will have what the application wants to do with my phone, whether they want to read my contacts, my text messages, you know, locate me by GPS. With iOS, it doesn't really work like that. You just basically, for example, this Hero Academy. If I click on it, it doesn't really give me any information of what this developer has in this app. For all I know, this is going to steal all my contacts. So that's a really huge flaw on Apple for even allowing. I'm glad they're doing something about it, but I keep reading these every day about applications that, you know, iOS has that steal information and your whole privacy. So really, I would have to worry, and I'm very cautious of what I download. I'm pretty sure they already have all my info, but once again, I feel more secured with Android. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed part 3. Part 4 is to come. Might take me a little while, but again, I'm really busy. But stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe. And just a little note here from the part 2 video. I did do a couple, I did have a couple of errors. Not that I did it on purpose. I do know that the iPad or the new iPad is a dual-core, quad-core GPU. I made several mistakes. It was late at night. No excuse. I mean, you know, it happens. I don't have a script, so things like this happen. I also made a couple mistakes. I said it was 15 seconds rather than 15 minutes on Android. So, you know, I think it's funny when I made the mistake on the iPad, you know, all the Apple people are like, ah, you know, but they failed to see that I also made a mistake on the Android part. And I also said micro SD instead of micro USB. So, you know, these things happen. Like I said, I don't have a script that I'm going by. So it's just kind of doing all this free flowing. So yes, I do know that this is a dual core, quad core GPU, and it just didn't come out that way. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for part 4 because things are just getting started.